was rocking out. I'm sorry.
I did that in reverse order, so we were actually on the air for a split second before the intro.
Yeah, when I said something like,
well, at least we got it
on
up
my
there.
toes. Yeah.
Me too. That's better than the day we did the whole intro and then like 5 minutes of the show and didn't go live. So producing is hard, folks. Producing is hard.
It's not as easy as people think it is.
No, it's because Zach makes it look so easy.
He does.
That's the problem.
He really
with
does.
It.
Yeah.
So welcome to the day after, right? The day after. It has all exploded. It's all come to an end. We don't even know what to do anymore.
Mr. Elon spoke, and so
That's right.
The world is trying to interpret exactly what it is that he was saying and what it all means. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just going to get straight to the point of the one line he said.
Yeah.
It was like an hour and 55-minute presentation. He said one line that was very concerning, which was when he was talking about the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to make it affordable.
Oh, well, then I do hope you win the free one.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear that. That's so in an hour and 55 minutes, that's the one line that I was like,
it stuck out to you,
yeah,
huh? As somebody who placed their order on February 9th, 2021, was it?
No, 2020.
Yeah. Not that I remember the date, but it was February 9th, wasn't it?
It was February 9th, 2020. Yeah. That's
you remember the time of day?
It was 12:51 p.m.
Okay.
And let's be clear, I'm not so much of a fanatic. I had to look up the email a couple times to know exactly when it was. So I have just seen that time.
Yes.
I'm not so much like, oh, I remember this exact time. It was, I actually do remember where I was, however, when I did place the order, because I was at work.
Okay.
In Los Angeles.
Working hard, I take it.
Yeah. But I met Adam Scott that same day too. So
the
for
golfer?
those who watch, no, he's an actor. He was on Parks and Rec for a long time. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff, but that's what most people recognize him from.
Well, I have no idea who the hell he is. So
yeah, that's all right.
I can look him up after the show.
Yeah.
So did Mr. Musk say anything else of great import yesterday?
So he had a lot of things. I have some slides we'll go through here in a minute, but some of the things he said that we have talked about that I liked is he sort of has reversed his or clarified his position, whatever, on full self-driving.
Yeah.
And he said it will not be as good as a human. It'll be 10 times better.
Oh,
which,
good.
Has been a big thing for me. I'm like, I don't want it as good as a human.
Much better. You've always insisted that it should be better than what we do because as humans, we have way too many accidents.
Yeah. And, we get distracted. Hopefully a computer doesn't get distracted by shiny objects over there and, it can pay attention to everything.
Yes.
So they're going to achieve some of that through full AI from camera capture to output. It'll all be run through AI to determine everything. So good use of AI, those are the things I think we like it better for. Not some of the things that Congress talked about yesterday, which if you didn't see that hearing, you got to look that up. That was hilarious.
Do I really have to?
Yeah, you don't have to, but do you remember Congress hearings on Bitcoin and crypto?
Can I tell you the truth?
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago to pay as little attention to what our elected congressional members say, so that I just don't pay attention to it anymore because it's just theatrics.
Well, it's funny because you watch these hearings and like the one on AI yesterday, and Congress is trying to make rules, right?
Yeah.
To regulate things, and you listen to their questions and their comments, and you go, you're trying to regulate something you don't understand at all.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have the basic understanding of what you're talking about. Like the most the senators talked about. Well, I went on to Chat GPT and I'm like, look, Chat GPT is cool. I use it every single day. Absolutely. But man, that is like the least of the AI things you're worried about. And that's what you're basing your stuff on. Is like it is somewhat embarrassing to watch Congress talk about some of the stuff. Um, but Tesla using AI for their full self-driving, that seems to make sense to me.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of applications we want. Unless of course your car becomes sentient, and then unless it's Kit from Knight Rider, then that's okay. But what else did he say? He talked about lithium refining. He talked about all the times he said, "Hey, can someone get on this because there's not enough happening?" He waited and waited and said, "Okay, well then we'll do it." So they've got more in line there coming. 2 new vehicles coming out.
Sort of maybe could be that he can produce up to 5 million of those
5 million, yeah.
Yeah.
He did poke fun at his own image, which I thought was fun. And he said, this is an Elon guess, so don't hold me to it. It's an Elon guess. I was like, okay, that's fair. At least you know your own image out there.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting thing, but I do want to get into some of these slides because I just sort of clipped some of the things that I found most interesting out of that I think everyone could get into.
Did you find it interesting that he said that they're going to, for the first time ever, consider conventional advertising for Tesla?
Yeah, I mean, which is interesting because they don't exactly have a backlog of vehicles.
Yeah.
So I think, he did talk a lot about, I think I sent you the clip of interest rates.
Yes.
Yeah. How interest rates are impacting things. And most people are monthly payment buyers, and that he expects the next 12 months to be very difficult. That everyone, including Tesla, is going to have problems. He thinks there's going to be a lot of people who go out of business, and then in roughly 12 months, things will get better, and Tesla will come out stronger. But that this is a big concern right now of the interest rates and how many people can afford vehicles right now. So he saw that, and so I think the advertising sort of couples with that. Like you're going to have to do more to draw people in when the wallet gets that tight. They haven't had to do that thus far. So, I could see where that's going to be, people are going to be a lot pickier with what they buy.
When people have less discretionary income to spend, they become more discerning about how they spend it.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. At a certain point, we all have to begin making choices in life. You know that I have a major addiction when it comes to timepieces. That I love watches.
I thought you were going to say the crack, but the timepieces was number 2.
Well, I think crack is number 2, but timepieces are not. Okay. No, I've never done crack ever in my life. Okay, but my addictions are purely material, but every day, I remind myself why I don't need another watch when I'm looking at other watches. Okay, every day I have saved myself tens of thousands of dollars just in the last 3 or 4 months because I refuse in these times to spend any. I just don't have the discretionary income in order to be able to afford to keep satiating this ridiculous addiction of mine. And I think that's what happens with most people as purse strings get tugged tighter and tighter. You have to make some adjustments to how you spend your money.
Yeah, well, and I
I've
think
done
we
that.
see that with the average age of used cars right now, right? It's going up and up and up because
Yes.
people are hanging on longer and longer because there's a lot more discretion in how they're buying, and they want to go there. So like I get that, and I think as Jared says, Elon is right. It's gonna get ugly like the Ram 1500.
Yeah.
So
I
I
thought that
agree.
said Cybertruck. Ugly like I thought
That's
that's what that
weird.
said because I
Let me see. No, oh, Silverado. My bad. My bad.
I,
Uh,
I I do believe even Elon has said that the Cybertruck just might not be appealing to all people out there
no, no,
that they
nor
just
did they ever expect it to be.
yeah, that they just, that there's any number of people that just might look at that and find the 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 look of it to be offensive for whatever reason.
But
Um,
but those who are doubting that it's going to come out, here's one other thing Elon said. He
yeah,
said the Cybertruck is me. This is everything I'm putting into it. This is representative of me. It's going to be my daily driver. So this is what I'm concentrating on the most.
well, good for him. I'm so happy for him.
But those who
Yeah,
don't think it's coming out, he's literally saying he's putting his own name on it that it's him. So like he's kind of putting something that it's kind of got to sell and got to work.
well, it doesn't have to.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
but
he
for
would he would
for his own ego.
yeah, he would
Yeah,
like it to work, but lots of people have come before him who whose egos got the better of them.
that's true.
Um, and and
More than didn't probably.
yes, and so you listen, it's an ugly truck. It is what it is. It's an ugly truck.
It's a beautiful truck.
It's a beautifully ugly truck, and that
That's right.
some people will say I can't live without it, while the vast majority of people would say why would they do this? But it even if it doesn't sell well, the amount of press that it continues to generate because everybody's been waiting so long for it to happen is worth whatever loss there might be associated with it if it doesn't sell well.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have over 1 million reservations, so
Doesn't
I
mean it
think
was,
it's gonna.
but
Yeah,
you mentioned yesterday that in order to get the reservation, you had to put $100
yeah,
down.
yeah,
$100. I mean, so that's nothing. So
yeah.
yeah, so
That's
there's
true.
a
That
million
is. Yeah,
reservations at $100, and when it turns out that the damn thing's $60,000 or $70,000, how many of those million reservations at $100 a throw are going to go? I'll take my 100 back now.
yep.
Um,
Well, certainly at the price point that it's probably going to end up coming out at, which is probably going to end up being more than I can afford. Um, I may have to drop out, even though I really like it and I want it.
yeah,
And it's going to change a lot of things in the manufacturing space.
yeah, because they
So,
still haven't quite figured out how the hell to manufacture it.
well, it's because it's an exoskeleton vehicle, so it's really different to produce than the endoskeleton vehicles that we're all used to.
Yes. Well, we shall
So,
see.
and we shall see. So, some of the other things they talked about.
Yes.
The Model Y is on track to become the best-selling vehicle globally in 2023. In Q1 in the United States, it was the best-selling non-pickup vehicle.
Okay.
In Europe, it was a best-selling vehicle of any kind.
Wow.
And in China, it was the best-selling SUV.
Okay.
So, they're on track and the sales just keep going up. So they're on track to become the best-selling vehicle, period. Something that we have talked about too okay, it's not working with me. Let's go this way. Are the margins.
Yes.
So here are their operating margins are 17% in 2022.
Wow.
So that's higher than Mercedes, Stellantis, BMW, Volkswagen, Toyota, all the way down to I'm surprised that Nissan is actually on par with Ford.
Yeah.
So that
Now
was
let me
more,
ask
that
you a
was more
question.
surprising than Tesla being way up.
What was their margins prior? Because
Well,
he's really been manipulating pricing in
yeah.
order
So,
to retain and maintain market share.
but
And they
in
can,
2022, his prices were higher, yeah, for sure, than obviously than this year. Um, but certainly, like when you go back to 2016,
yeah,
there was an inverted number, right? I mean, it just was. Tesla lost a lot of money
yes,
to begin with,
no, I
and
get that.
profitability. So Tesla's up here in the blue.
Yeah,
BYD's making some money, and literally almost everybody else is losing money.
yes,
You look at Ford. We know how much Ford is losing. So Polestar's losing more.
yeah.
We knew Lucid. I did not know Rivian was losing almost as much as Lucid.
Well,
So
Rivian lost 1.35
yeah,
billion in the first quarter, and Lucid only lost, what was it, 708 million. So between the two of them, they lost 2 billion.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So and he made a really big point to, not to knock any of the competitors. This is saying, you know what, this is super hard. Like to
yeah.
manufacture cars is super hard. He said it before with SpaceX. It's easier to build a rocket than it is to mass produce a car. It's, it's just so hard. So, a lot of catching up from a lot of these other people. But I look at BYD and Neo and Xpeng, that everyone's like, oh, the Chinese are going to come for America.
Yeah.
And like I keep saying, I don't see the super cheap Chinese EV coming anytime soon.
Um, where did he give any predictions as to where he thinks Tesla's market share will be a year from now, or as
Uh,
we get deeper into this year?
Not really market share, but this is this is their share sort of now. So Tesla is the largest EV maker in the world. The most he said about it was, I don't expect that to change. So, does that mean that nobody catches up? No, I mean, more people catch up, as we talked about yesterday, but
Yeah,
Tesla's still going to be the leader in all of that. But you can see, from was this 2017? So it
yeah,
starts in 2017 here and goes all the way up to 2022. You can see the ramp up there from them, and
yes,
a lot of people. So there's a long way for people to go in that. Oops. There's a long way for people to go in that. Tesla just expects to keep doing. This is 1.4 million vehicles. They expect the Model 2, he expects to do 2 million vehicles a year
yeah.
eventually. And then whatever the second vehicle makes up 3 million more, I guess, by his $5 million or 5 million prediction.
And didn't he also predict that they will eventually have the capacity to produce 20 million new EVs annually?
Event like long way down the road, but yeah, I mean that's their sort of one of their goals.
Seems high.
Seems super high. Seems super
Yeah,
high.
I mean,
That
considering,
seems like a Musk number,
yeah, because
not a real one.
you look at Toyota, who was I'm not sure if they still are, but they were the world's largest automotive manufacturer. And last year they produced 9.13 million vehicles. They hope to be able to reach 10 million in this fiscal year. You know, but they ain't talking about 20 million. 20 million
Yeah.
just seems like, what we used to call a wag for certain things, a wild ass guess.
Yeah.
So where do you see your production numbers? It's, oh, I think 20 million shouldn't be a problem. How the hell you getting to 20 million?
Well,
That you need to produce?
20 million by 2070. That way we're all dead and we can't prove him wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that just seems like a
that does seem
ridiculously
like
high
that.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. I mean, you're right. That's 5 million. I think Yeah, okay, I can see that achieving, but that seems to me closer to the top cap that you're going to be able to do out of one company.
Well, I mean, obviously, we know
Maybe,
Toyota can
yeah,
do upwards of 10 million, but they have multiple brands within the confines of what is considered Toyota manufacturing. They have Hino and Daihatsu and some other brands, but I just if you could get if Tesla could get the Toyota numbers, that would be a
I
hell
mean,
of an achievement.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
it took Toyota what, uh,
they've been around a while.
yeah, 30, 40 years to get there. So yeah. Don't count Tesla, although they've already been around 20. So hey,
Yeah, but Toyota's been around since what, the 40s?
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So it's really like 80 some years. I just it just if you could if he could get the Toyota numbers, that would be quite an accomplishment. And I don't, if the I mean how many EVs can the world absorb on an annual basis? Because every other manufacturer is going to be out there producing them as well.
yeah.
It's just
I mean, you're gonna. They can't absorb more than the ICE vehicles cover now. So, and there's going to be lots of ICE vehicles still produced for decades to come. Um, Even with mandates, maybe not in America or Europe, I
yeah.
don't know, but they'll still be. I don't see Latin America going, "Hey, we're going to go all EV." I'm not
Yeah,
hearing that out of them.
I don't see emerging markets in Africa going, we're going to
Yeah,
go all EV.
yeah.
You know.
So there's a long time. So yeah, you're right. I mean, there's only so many you can do. We'll see what that is.
Yeah.
But so another one that he talked about was the next generation drive unit that they are doing,
Okay.
which reduces silicone carbides by 75%, reduce the factory footprint by 50%, zero rare earth minerals, and around $1,000 to
Cheaper.
build. All in cost. No, not
Oh, wow.
cheaper. A total of $1,000 to produce the drive unit.
Wow.
So that would be a significant savings over. Um, so that could be interesting. And then the EV versus ICE emissions over time. That was one that he covered for a little bit. So
Yeah.
as we all know, the EVs up front cost more emissions than an
Yeah.
ICE vehicle. When you count in shipping them from China and
Yeah.
putting diesel into the ship and all that. However, over the lifetime, that of course goes down more and more and more to where you're at a huge significant negative 60 percent over 17 years. This is a long time, but
Yeah.
used EVs are going to get out there, and that's important to remember over that.
Well, here's a question. It has to do with EVs, but not necessarily EV cars and trucks as we think of them. Because you mentioned, the diesel fuel that's needed to power the giant ass ships.
Yeah.
Giant ass ships, gas, diesel fuel. To get these vehicles exported from places like China and Japan and wherever. Will there be a time that the ships are powered by electric motors?
They're working on hydrogen, or actually, there's two giant ships that are already doing hydrogen. I think they're testing that out, which
Yeah,
makes some sense. Uh, you can't, yeah. So hydrogen at a port is easy to get there and to do that, and it fills up faster, and
yeah,
while you're loading and unloading and all that stuff. So I know they're working on that. I don't know where they are in that, but that would be something. But as Justin pointed out, like that, the total emissions of those ships are like 2.5% of the CO2 emissions
Gotcha.
of transportation.
So it's
So
relatively minor in
yeah,
comparison.
yeah.
Okay.
In comparison to, it's actually a lot of the other transportation networks that are much higher, semi trucks and trains, particular. Those account
Airplane.
for airplanes, certainly. And there are some zero emission planes being tested right now. They just don't go very far,
Will
which
there
might be a
be
problem for people.
will there be an electric SpaceX uh, rocket at some point in time?
No, I don't know that. I've never heard of it. I don't know if you can get enough thrust out of like even hydrogen to get out of the atmosphere. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I doubt it,
Yeah, me
but
too. But yeah, you
certainly
know,
not electric,
yeah,
right?
you,
I don't
you
know how
know
that
me.
would work.
Part of why you have me here is so that I can ask the stupid questions.
That's not a stupid question. I have no idea because I don't think you can break the Earth's gravity on
Okay,
electric. That's for sure.
okay,
Um,
and it probably wouldn't be good if an electric powered rocket fell into the ocean, because my guess is that salt water and these electric batteries, they don't play well together.
no, they do not play well together. But I mean, the most you'd get is a fire, and if it's underwater, I think that gets put out pretty easy. So
Well,
you
I
just
don't
have,
know.
I mean, a
I don't-
corrosive battery. Um, so I mean, there's the 48 architecture, 48 volt architecture in the new Cybertruck too. Elon talked about that's going to cut the use of copper by a quarter, or it's
Okay,
going to be a quarter of the use of copper. So
so it's going to
75%
take
reduction.
75%. Gotcha.
Yeah, which is
Wow.
good because I just learned
Yes.
yesterday in our meeting. I'm asking Ashley, Ashley, um, who's familiar with GM, that the new Camaro was the LZ1 can't be sold in California. And a member told me it was emissions. I'm like, no, there's no way that's right. There's no way
Yeah.
that's right. So I asked her, and she's like, no, it's from too much copper in the brakes.
Really?
And California will not allow that much copper to be used on a vehicle sold here. So it is true that you cannot sell the vehicle in California, which just blew my mind because I learned that the hard way. I think I gave some bad advice, but
Yeah.
because I went, no, there's nothing. There's no vehicle that's not 50 state emissions like that was, but that's what the dealer had said was emissions. And then we looked up, and
So,
so the point
really,
is less copper is good,
yeah. I,
according to the state of California, who's concerned about the salmon. I don't know how your brakes get into the river, but whatever that is.
so really, what I hear you saying is California is a separate country altogether.
I hear that almost every day from Kimberly.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. Well, I used to live near California,
yeah.
and I used to visit California every year. I made it a a point to take the family to San Diego for a week every summer when we lived in Phoenix, because, well, you have to escape the heat at some point. And that was the first time I had ever been to an IKEA, and the IKEA was in San Diego. And the most amazing thing is you never saw a car with California license plates pulled up in front of that IKEA. They all had Arizona plates, because
Yeah.
we didn't have an IKEA at that time. So yeah, it's just, but I used to visit. What I appreciated was I didn't need a passport or anything.
Yeah, no. We do send out foreign correspondents when we try to talk to the rest of America, though.
No, I understand.
But yeah. I mean, it's, I'm like I say, it's not different here. It's different for sure. But I've looked at lots of other places to go, and I'm still not sold on all those other places just yet.
Well, I can't say that I blame you. There is something to be said for the weather and certain aspects of California and certain areas of California. Um, it's just
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't like to bash California necessarily publicly all the time, but you don't go to San Francisco right now. That is not the same city it was 6 years ago,
yeah.
let alone more than that. It's a really, really different city. So you don't go there now. That's crazy. But like most of California is beautiful. Most of us don't engage in extremist politics on one side or the other. We're just normal people trying to live our lives, especially out here in the valley. And when you get away from the coastline, although there's beautiful places in the coastline with
Yeah.
really normal people too. But everyone thinks what you do, right? San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Like, don't judge my whole state by three crazy ass cities.
I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
I enjoyed visiting California. I really did.
Yeah, and I have long considered going back to Boston, except for the snow.
And that is a true issue in the Northeast. And I believe, where you live, you get a, 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 a pretty large number of days filled with sunshine a year.
Yes.
In the Phoenix area, it was, when we lived there, it was like, I don't know, 320 or, it was 330, something like that. There was like a month a year that it was overcast, and it was spread out over many, many, many months. And, there's something to be said for waking up and seeing sunshine on a daily basis. And I believe Boston is one of the least sunshiny cities in America.
It is.
Where it might be something like 160 days of sunshine a year. Sunshiny days are 180, something like that. But it's only, it's half the time as opposed to 80% of the time or 85% of the time. And the major difference, and this being from Boston, is the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast is on the East Coast, people live to work, and on the West Coast, people work to live.
Yeah.
And it's true, and it is an entirely better way to go through life if you're working to live as opposed to living to work.
Yeah, I will say one other thing, working with you every day and then having my sister from Boston last week, another difference, you guys are loud. You're very, very loud people. And I do remember that from the East Coast. Like, I'm like, oh, there's just a general volume, and I assume you just have to talk over each other. I don't know.
Well, there's a reason I'm loud, and that's because I'm hard of hearing. And so the harder of hearing you become, the louder you become, because, well, you want to make sure that you can hear yourself. And yes, I tend to speak loudly. I apologize for that.
No. It sounds like a criticism. It's really not. But I know lots of East Coasters, obviously, and they're just louder than just talk at a volume that's louder. My sister was, outside an apartment complex at 11 o'clock at night, and she was just talking normal for her, and I'm like, keep it down.
Yeah.
you gotta talk twice, and it's just normal. And it's not a criticism. Like, I grew up with it. Like, it was just one of the observations. I'm like, that's right. I forgot when she got out here. I was like, I forgot how much louder East Coast people are than West Coast. I think West Coast, they're just too high most of the time to talk loud. I don't know. Either directly or contact, whatever. We're just too high to talk that loud.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, go to New York City if you want loud.
So James has something that
yes,
I would argue with the last word. Northeast people tend to be more rude. No, they're just direct. There's a lot less time for BS and all of that. And I really prefer the Northeast sort of direct route. But I did talk to a member. We had a member from Sacramento who moved to Boston.
Uh-huh.
And the first thing I said was, yeah, well, yeah.
And I'm from Philly.
Yeah. And the first thing I said was, how long did it take you to understand that the rudeness was not really directed at you? It's just how people were. And she laughed. She's like, I didn't even know that that was a thing. I'm like, I can't believe you just said that. She's like, it took me like 6 months to realize that people weren't just putting me down all the time. I'm like, no, it's just that mentality of, hey, get the F out of my way doesn't mean I'm being rude. It just means get out of my way.
Yes.
And then on the East Coast, oh, excuse me, pardon me, I'm sorry. I'd rather just say, get out of my way. Like, that's fine. Just don't be sensitive about it. But there is a big difference. I agree with James. There's a big difference in that sort of mentality of the Northeast mentality. Of,
well,
just directness. I don't agree that it's rude. I think it's just direct. But certainly Californians would think it was rude.
It has more to do with a dog environment on the East Coast, which comes back to the live to work thing.
Yeah.
Okay. It is such a competitive environment on the East Coast that you don't like Igor says, you don't have time for all the nonsense.
Yeah.
So you tend to be more direct. You tend to try and say it like it is sometimes, like I tend to do. What's the point of pulling a punch?
Yeah,
say what you want to say, and accept the fact that you can't be all things to all people, and you have to be okay with that. And I know that, for instance, I am certainly not everybody's cup of tea. I am not for everyone. Yeah. I get it. And I'm okay with that. And if you're one of the people that, find me abrasive and obnoxious, well, that's only because I'm probably abrasive and obnoxious. And that's who I am. I can't help myself.
Yeah. Well, and James says there's nothing, you can say what you want to say, nothing wrong with being civil about it. There's a difference between direct and incivility.
Yes.
Certainly. Like, I know some people do think the direct is rude. I just don't agree with that. Like, I find directness fine, but I know some people would say that's uncivil. But it's like, as long as you're not calling them names or, pushing them or, like, that's fine. Just be direct. I wish more people were direct so we didn't have to figure out the code.
Exactly. I like, yeah. There's a lot less to figure out when you just speak your mind.
Yeah. Of course, you get more people offended, like, we've had today at some point.
Whatever.
I apparently offended BTVS, which, by the way, I did live in San Francisco. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And it is not the same city. I did live there. And now I'm not that much farther away. I'm only an hour and a half away now. So it's just, I'm glad that they enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's great. And there's lots of people who are still there who do enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm just not one of them. And I just don't find it to be what it once was. But everything is cyclical. It's not the first time San Francisco or any city has sort of gone downhill, and then it'll revive and come back up, and it'll
make a comeback.
Yeah, of course it will. Like, the city's not going to fall apart and become a ghost town. It's one of the premier cities in the world.
Yes,
it's not going away. It just needs to.
It's just not quite as nice as it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're more likely to be cursed out. I feel like, Jared, you may not have ever been to Los Angeles or on the freeway in California, where you were likely to be cursed out or maybe shot. Who knows?
Yeah,
Uh, we
whatever.
have those. Yeah, we have those incidents. So.
Goodness. Well, you know what time it is?
Time for
A
Reagan to
meal?
come back from the dead and save
Well,
California.
yeah. Time for
Yeah.
Reagan to come back from the dead, and it's mealtime. So perhaps Ronnie and I could grab a bite to eat together.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, you would be the healthiest person in that room, no matter what
Um,
you're eating.
I think you could be correct.
Yeah. All right, so we will be back on Friday.
Yes.
With, I don't know what we're talking about Friday.
I don't
something.
think Justin won't be here, will he?
I am not counting on Justin to be here. I know he'd like to be if he can, but I'm not counting on him right now, as Daniello is due any day now.
Yes.
His little boy. So, which I think I'm pushing for tomorrow.
Well, that's because tomorrow's your birthday.
That's right. That's right. He needs to be born.
So I think we should all take a moment to wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And as I like to say, may this anniversary of your birth be the best ever until, well, we celebrate it again next year.
That's right.
And I'm pulling for Daniello to be born next Thursday next Thursday on the 25th.
Which is your birthday.
My birthday, yeah.
And by the way, is his due date?
The 25th.
The 25th is his due date. So that's why I say he needs to come tomorrow. So due on your birthday, born on mine. That kid doesn't stand a chance. Oh my goodness.
It'll be fun either way.
Yeah, it will be.
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody. We will see you back here Friday with something. We'll talk
Absolutely. I'll be here.
Me too. All right.